promotion of tourism will be at the core of all the countries, and well, without further ado, we'll now give a warm welcome to all of those who are with us at this local forum in the framework of the Fifth World Forum on Local Economic Development. More than 1,200, the ones who registered and participated around the world. Thank you very much for following us, and let's continue with the activities, and let's present now the next panel. Tools for touristic and cultural interpretation. And we are going to introduce the participants, the co-organizers of this first local forum. So we'd like to thank you very much, not only for being part of this panel, but also for all the support to plan and to put this forum together. We really like to thank you. I'm going to introduce first Álvaro Garnica, graduate in the University of Suffolk, Boston, and has a diploma in entrepreneurial services by Complutense in Madrid. He's specialized in production, distribution, and marketing of the audiovisual industry with more than 30 years of international experience, mostly in Europe and the Americas. During all these years, he's worked in relevant places in the audiovisual media, where he directed many TV channels in the U.S. After working and living for 23 years in the Americas, he goes back to Spain, and he founds the Global Journey Consulting that participates in the board of members of the Tourism World Organization. World Tourism Organization. And right now, he is operations director of Wanderlust Global Life, in charge of Travitat, and we also have Rafael Perez from GeoTravitat, and have a great conversation. We are following you from Córdoba, Argentina. Thank you, Laura. A pleasure to be here. We want to thank all of those who are listening to us and the organizing committee. First of all, I apologize. We hope to have one of our co-workers to moderate, but due to external reasons, she couldn't be with us today. So I talked to Rafa, and we worked together. We would rather have this meeting a little bit more informal, more like a conversation, understanding that we're going to discuss a very important topic, such as the touristic and cultural interpretation tools. Something that I think is very broad to cover, maybe, in this short time. So we prefer to express or to teach you a little bit what we think about, how we have interpreted the situation, the market, the industry, to put together a project that we are involved in, which is Travitat. It's a traveling app, and to show you the analysis, the reflections, and how we put this product together. I hope you like it. I'd like to thank Rafa for being here with me. He is a great person. He's very important in the development and the product that we have in our hands. If you agree, I'm going to share a presentation. Can you see my screen? Yes, we can see you. We can see your screen. We are going to interact. Rafael and I, we're going to interact. So, from the technical standpoint, can we both be on the screen? Sorry about the technical team, because we are going to interact in the content. We've all talked about the leitmotif, the tunnel that we're in. And I don't think it's just our industry that is in this tunnel. After what we've been going through, I think we don't need to dimension it, but we see the light at the end of the tunnel. There are some differences, of course, with maybe some situations that are more complicated than others. But I think we've already distributed enough, half the vaccines. Countries are getting together and trying to end this pandemic. The question here is, okay, what's after this channel? What's at the end of the tunnel? What do we expect to find at the end of the tunnel? In other words, this is not something new. Before the pandemic, we already had in our industry a very strong need to evolve in the touristic arena, but this light at the end of the tunnel, I think, is teaching us that there is maybe some other habitat for the touristic industry, and I think that's what we want to discuss today. I totally agree with you. Everything that is related to the dynamic of this tunnel. The dynamic of tunnel, it has an entrance, a long, dark tunnel, and it has the end. You reach the end of the tunnel. And that's, we're now wondering, where do we want to go? Where do we want to go after this channel? Like, that's the reflection, and that's what we started thinking about when we had to choose a model. I think that we should position ourselves intellectually, at least, in a framework that allows us to give sense to everything that has to do with this tunnel concept. And the image that you are looking at, this is the post-tunnel model. This is the framework that Rafael was mentioning. And from here, we departed from this model in order to build these tools for change. I'm going to be very short because maybe it's a little complicated, but we worked on 3 axes. First, the trends, the mega trends, the drivers of change, and then how we project those drivers to change in time, in a timeline. So how everything deploys. Rafa? Yes, I just want to add something. You mentioned about the drivers, and then that's the foundation on which we based this whole model. Maybe I would go around this. I would say, okay, I'm going to ask some questions. In this new change, is health going to be an axis that we are going to have to focus on and base many of our actions? Is that a variable that we will have to take into account a lot more now? All this time that we've been locked in lockdown without being able to go anywhere, it would be interesting to perhaps provide tools and actions to avoid social isolation. The financial uncertainty, of course, is key. What tools are we going to be left with? How are we going to work on the payment mechanisms and how to prevent fear? Tourism somehow has to manage all these variables. And of course, everything that has to do with the search for truth and near-shore tourism, and how local tourism can bring about the most sustainable concepts. But there is also another side that we need to take into account when we think about these reflections, is the asymmetries that some models can produce. That has not been our model. Our model, the one that gives us this framework, needs to have a concept of symmetry, evolution. All participants need to grow in the same way. Right, and that's why we have this image, the reaction between well-being, promoting communities, adding value, offering trust, and gaining that trust. All of that has had a key role, and that gives us this symmetry that we were talking about. And that's why we put all of that together and we say, okay, in order to build these tools and to have these tools to contribute to the model, we need to have this triple win model. We believe that the touristic industry, the tourism industry, by definition, is public-private. Interests blend. I think that there is a very strong relationship than in many other industries. But that's why we give great importance to the triple win model, because at the end, we are talking about a B2C, a B2B, B2G. So here the main difference is that the B2C, especially, we focus it with all the values that we mentioned before. But when this combination is correct, there is only one winner, which is society as a whole. And society is no more and no less than a set of components, human beings. And I think we have to focus on that. We've always thought that it was interesting to see that the cultural events have changed models. How did we travel back in the 70s? What kind of tourism did we have back then? And what is the one that we have now? What is the type of tourism that we will have after this pandemic effect? So to get to see all that impact that human beings have had and the cultural events that have defined them has been key. All the post-COVID pandemic will define that. Yes, for us, it's being important to understand. It was not easy for us to do so, to understand it, especially in this context and situation, because the impact has been grotesque. But to see the different behavior, the consumers' behavior, there was a change in consumers, and there is a change in behavior, and the concept of society that we are going to be left with. In this ultra-connected society, there are three main axes: flexibility, speed, and agility. These things that the technological tools give us. Yeah, but in this liquid identity is that the experience has to be unique and different. That's one of the main axes of modernity. The new tourist is a very digital tourist. It's a tourist that bets on sustainability and, most of all, time. The time indicator is key. They have to travel when they want, how they want, and whatever they want, and that puts a lot of pressure to the touristic business. Speed change so much, and it's an indicator that the challenge that we all have here, we need to cover 5 generations that are living in the same cultural event. So the people who are 75, 85, and our nieces and nephews who are 6, 7 years old. So we all these generations live now this same event. So we all need to change dynamically. All our service offer puts us in a very complex dynamic, and that's when technology takes or plays this key role. And that leads us to what we have and what we call the relations platforms. The platform, which is the technology that is as a referent for relate ourselves to different stakeholders, consumers, but most of all with a win-win relationship for all citizens. For us, the pillars that we understand as the foundation for these platforms are 4: human, magnetic, infinite and sustainable. Yeah, but especially because of a key thing, right? I mean, we do not have to look for asymmetries. Technological mediation among the stakeholders is going to be much more agile and transparent and more solid, all those experiences and those relationships. And that's the key foundation of these four concepts. Human, I mean, all human beings are behind technology. We cannot forget the ethnocentric, the human being as the center of, not client or consumer, a citizen. It's not just a tourist, it's a much more complex thing, magnetic. That means we need to feel ourselves identified and infinite. Whatever we are, we need to have the capacity to offer experiences and services, and we cannot talk about any model if we don't talk about sustainability. So I believe that these are the foundations of our model. Álvaro? Yeah, that's right. And we are going to explain two of the tools, technology tools, that Wanderlust developed. The second one is going to be presented by Rafa, and it's part of the Travitat platform, but with a different use, which it makes it really interesting. So the platform is called Travitat. It's a digital ecosystem that allows travelers to connect themselves through a technological platform that provides tools, solutions, experiences, and products at all times. Most of all, we thought about it to be designed for travelers to feel closer to their destinations and based on sustainable tourism. I'm going to do a demo. We're going to have a demo, but I need to open another app. I hope it works. I hope it works. Excuse me. I apologize. I'm trying to open the app. Can you see my screen? Yes. All right. So this is Travitat. At the beginning, you have a tutorial where we explain the areas in which we work, health, etc., etc. But we're going to explain it better now. This is the app. As you can see, somehow, before when we talked about the work framework, we said, okay, we emphasize the change drivers. And that's what we wanted to reflect here. We're going to talk about different areas that we consider that complement what may be a traveler's life, but at the same time, it needs to have some purpose and use in their everyday life. The application is a digital ecosystem. It has another part that is also on the web. We're going to have a component which is the mobile app, but on the web we'll have other developments such as the marketplace. We're going to have also an area of training for the SDGs, but in any case, we'll have here, we work on identity. I'm sorry that, okay, here we go again. Identity, here we can add documents like passport or the ID number or the driver's license. This app recognizes not only the validation of the original document, but it combines with the ID, biometric data, and the identification of the user. Therefore, we see that there is a certain authority to the app.
As we said before, health is plays a key role, and we are here and this is what we're going to have in terms of the need to verify test results, for example, vaccines or other vaccines. So this is about data. This creates a dynamic QR. I apologize if I'm going too fast. It's important that, well, payment, that is, here we'll create debit cards. We're working with issuing banks. We have some already in the region. We're working on debit cards. And the idea is that these, I mean, debit cards can be used and cover all the needs of travelers. This debit will have some specific features that can be used within the ecosystem. And the concept of payment, we understand it as a way to actually deal with essential problems that a lot of countries have in terms of, banking, and we'll also work on travel market. This is very important. This is going to be sort of a search engine for accommodation, transportation, and so on. Hotels, hostels, and we believe it's important, and we are including an online market and an online shopping. A lot has been said about cultural diversity, so we really think this is very important. And at the back, in the shopping or travel market, we gather user relations, destinations, and finally, there's another channel for entertainment about places, programs, activities, and this is pretty much the way we're used to. So all of this is focused on we'll have 3 different levels. A membership level, as a partner, as an ambassador, as a volunteer. But this will be a sort of a rewards type of program associated to all of the members and open to the industry. We're talking about a dynamic model. And most importantly, these benefits and rewards are being oriented so that it can be used in many countries. We believe this is the new tourist model, and also consider the importance of development. So we need to, just briefly, I don't know if there are any other questions, but this is the ecosystem that, in a way, collects everything we talked about. And now we'll discuss a practical case just to show you how technology works. In this case, to talk about that relates to touristic mobility. The triple winner models, this part has the connection with the end user or the tourist. And now we'll discuss coverage. All of the services to corporations and the stakeholders in general that comprise the tourism the sector, companies. We cannot talk about tourism without mobility. Let's suppose we can see what's happening on real time, what's happening across the globe, because we can track and know where people are and how long they stay there, where they come from, where they went to. This mobility platform has a beautiful concept, which is ethnographies. Ethnographies allow us to identify cultural patterns based on mobility in order to get to know, identify cultural trends that are set by tourism. As you can see, this is real time. Madrid, if we just pick one mobile device, we'll be able to know how long and where they went to and how long they've been there. So based on this information, with this, you can see the capacity of sharing these kind of insights, all of the interpretation that can be drawn thanks to this, the capacity to create heat maps based on interests, the capacity to have conversations in real time, to deal with the people, to have the appropriate information and the right information, the right place. This format is really, really very important in these times. So we could actually move around the world and identify behavioral patterns, which is the link. I mean, what allows us to get to this ethnography is how can we build it. So let's select the mobile devices that are interesting to reach to draw some conclusions, to set some actions. And so, and also identified where they went to, how long, if they go to hotels, the hotels they stayed at, Eurostars, the weekends, I mean, what happened, how long they spent there, on average, what they did before, what they did after. I mean, all of this ethnographic information, putting this at the center of conversations so that public sectors and private sectors can actually get in contact based on this knowledge and also establish the model that we are proposing. The tool really, I mean, we could discuss this for a longer period of time, but we need to be able to obtain information, analyze it, process it, and provide it. I mean, offer that as a good. This is the objective. Thank you very much. We're concluding this panel with this. We try to show you the difficulty to, well, address such a very long topic, so different, I mean, based on the different national country scenarios. Collaboration between public and private sector based on platform design of the relations that will help a natural transition where technology will be the main mediator of change, that would standardize conversation between the different stakeholders. This is essential, and as I was said at the beginning, the winner will be society as a whole. Digitalization, we can't help but talk about it. For us, digital transformation, I mean, digitalization brings about transformation, but the dynamics of evolution must be based on the capacity that communities or societies have to absorb the different technological innovations. That's why we believe there must be a willingness to change that is natural and everlasting without imposing it. Of course, we need to accelerate things, but we believe that proper absorption and assimilation is really key. Of course, we will have more developed regions. And finally, our efforts are intended to improve citizens' experiences, to facilitate relation and information dynamics with travelers, and create awareness on tourism economies, local economies and the environment. So we're working for a citizen called tourists, and what is good for the tourist, it'll be good for the citizen. I believe it's very important. Education is very important in this sense. And if we understand that policies are not only devised for groups, in individual groups, what we expect in tourism, we want to see in tourism, as it was defined before, the future, sustainable tourism, competitive and responsible tourism, and accessible for all. I'd like to thank you all. Thanks to the organizers and the panelists. Thank you very much. Thank you. It was an honor to join this panel. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Álvaro Garnica, Rafael Perez from Wanderlust Global Life, and as co-organizers of this first local forum on tourism and economic development. It was a step-by-step presentation, and as you said, when we exit this tunnel, we'll have a tool to be able to know where we're standing when tourism is reopened. Now we'll have a short break. We'll have some videos during the break, and after the videos, please join us on the next panel. Thank you very much.